the 2000 team, I was younger. I was a sophomore in 2000, and we had great leadership. We had older guys, Ricky Matthews and Jake Lawson and Ryan Lang, basically, among a lot of other guys. So in 2002, what had sort of changed is I was a senior. So I kind of took over more of a leadership role as one of the captains with Jeff Viscovich and Matt Malloy. And we had some younger, very, very good talent that had come in. I think what had helped was the success we had in 2000 and in 2001. We were able to recruit some of these good players from around the country. So, we came in 2002 there with some great young players, and still had this awesome core group of guys, Devin Spilker and Travis Gillespie, Matt Malloy, Viscovich, the list goes on. But you had these younger guys come in, like I mentioned to you, Nolan Hebner, Pat Cardiff, Kyle Zentz, Clint Pitts, Nick Kobakov. Obviously I played with Devin Spilker the whole time, 2000, 2001, 2002. So Devin was a crucial player in that game. Obviously went in most valuable player. It was great. It had similar feelings, because I think any championship you win, there's just a cohesiveness to the group, and I've been fortunate to be on some other teams besides there at Limestone, and the one thing I've noticed in every championship I've won is just how close the group and the teammates are together. And we had that in 2002, and it being my last year, I didn't want to go out losing. So it was by far the best way to play your last college game is to win a championship. So very fortunate for that, and I thank all my teammates that helped make that happen. I don't really like talking about myself, but I was able to. I did have a good year, and I was fortunate. I think lacrosse is all about your teammates. So the teammates around me made me better. It allowed me to have a very good year. I had Spilker on the other side of me on attack there, and Randolph on the crease. So we had just a solid attack unit, and then we had Brad Bauer and the other guys I mentioned, Hebner and Zentz, and all these other guys, midfield, Nick DeLonga, the list goes on. And then we had our D guys and Matt Malloy, and I think this is a team, it allowed me to be successful. I think, the other thing that was a little bit different and helpful was Coach Johnson. He came in that year and immediately made an impact on us, and sort of took what we had done the previous year or two, and got our heads sort of refocused after that loss in 2001. And he was an amazing coach for that season as well. But all of that was the only reason that I was able to win those accolades. It's not possible to do just by myself. If I talk just on the attack side, I think teams had a very difficult time sort of matching up with Devin and I. We sort of played yin and yang. He was on the right side, I was on the left side, and we did exactly the same thing. There weren't very many teams that had two really good defenders. I think I got kind of locked down a little bit more that game, to be honest. But it freed up Devin to go score some goals, and he stepped up like he always has, and he was crucial in that game. On the offensive side. Defensive side, obviously, I always say Matt Malloy, we wouldn't have won anything without him. both those years. I'm still shocked we actually lost in 2001, but 2002, yeah, Malloy, Travis Gillespie, again, Pitts, Kovikov, DeLonga, and the list goes on. The list goes on. They just couldn't. They couldn't keep up with us, I think, and I think we had we were very, very motivated, and I know myself and some of the other guys, the older guys, we weren't willing to lose. And when you make that decision, you'll do whatever it takes to win. And New York Tech couldn't keep up with us. So I can't believe it's been 20 years. I'll tell you that. Time goes by very, very fast, and I was down in Limestone for Hall of Fame weekend a month or so ago, and it was great to catch up with some of those guys. And if they see this video, I miss them, and well, I mean, I just start, when I close my eyes, I just start thinking about all the guys, and I don't want to leave anybody out. It was an amazing team. We had some great bus rides, travel, and we were a close group. And I hope all those guys are doing great. And yeah, I can't believe it's been 20 years.
Yeah, it was a wild ride. Like, I remember coming in as a freshman, you could tell there was some heavy recruitment that kind of went on, just by how some of the upperclassmen kind of spoke to each other or kind of hung out. It wasn't anything bad by any means, but it just didn't seem like the chemistry was quite there yet. You can tell something special was building. It was obviously a small school in South Carolina. You had a whole bunch of guys coming in from Maryland, Long Island, Canada, and we had, I think my freshman year, we had about 60 kids on the team, and then a lot of them were transfers. And then you fast forward to 99, I think in 98 also, we won the Deep South Conference title. And you knew right there we were we were starting to become a force to be reckoned with. And then you fast forward into 2000, I believe it was like right at the tail end of the fall, or maybe even at the start of the spring in 2000. Coach Torino moved Chris Campbell, who was a two-time All-American on his way to a prolific career, to midfield, and moved Nick Carlson from defensive mid to attack. And then they also brought in a bunch of transfers. They brought in Ryan Ross from the Naval Academy, John Riley and Josh Rudder, who I think were both from Towson, and then Tim Cobra, who came in from Delaware. And and then it was also the way he kind of lobbied to have a North and then a South kind of representative to meet in a national championship. So back in 2000, there were 3 top-tier Division II programs that were battling to play. We knew we were going to make it. After, I forgot who we ended up beating, but we ended up beating one of the Southern teams and got our road to the national championship. But up north, it was still CW Post, Adelphi, and Tech. And all 3 of them, it was like 1, 2, and 3, or they were all tied for first. It was some crazy scenario. And I remember they were going to pick one of the teams, and I remember at some point Coach Reno said, I think we matched up well against both. And we ended up drawing their number. And the whole all championship weekend was awesome. Like, they give you they have like this whole banquet, and it was incredible to just be part of that whole Memorial Day weekend. So you fast forward into the game, and the game plan was literally for Ricky Matthews. I'm sorry, Ricky Matthews was the transfer that came in. He came in '99. So the game plan was something like, Ricky Matthews is going to win the face-off, run down the field, score the first goal, and then we're going to try to kind of calm our nerves during the first quarter, let everything settle, and then just play lacrosse. And there was something like 6 lead changes throughout the game. Just an awesome game, and we ended up winning, and like the lacrosse world was just shocked. I remember going back home to Long Island playing in club games, and all of a sudden people will ask me like all about limestone, and it was pretty awesome. And then 2001, we graduated a whole bunch of very talented seniors. 2001 was probably the most talented team to walk through those halls up until that time, and we probably should have had a third ring that year. A couple of off the field stuff happened, and we just didn't quite gel that year, and we ended up losing 14-10 to Adelphi. And then I think everyone who kind of came back in 2000 had a very bad taste in their mouth and just knew had a chance at going back. So we came in, T.W. Johnson came in and reached out to all the seniors during the summertime while he was at a camp. I remember expressing to him how badly I wanted to win a ring on the way out, and he made it happen. It was unbelievable. Like the team chemistry there was something I haven't experienced in any other, like not in my professional life or any other sports kind of team or anything. It was unbelievable. Just no clicks. Everyone's ego was in check. Everyone was on the same page, trying to gun for a national championship. And we weren't the most talented team in the South. Well, maybe the South, but definitely not in the division. And, we took it to New York Tech. Came home with the crown, 11-9 or 11-8 was the score. And they were an undefeated team, so it was an absolutely incredible journey. I'm so happy that I ended up choosing Limestone to just play ball and go to school. In 2002, we were overall a younger team. I think we might have only had like 8 seniors on the team, which isn't really a lot. And we were really young, but we all, all the young, like the juniors and the sophomores, we all kind of came up together. And I don't know if sometimes there has to be like an event that happens, or maybe a couple of different things that happen throughout the season to where I knew we were going to do something special. One was the camaraderie, the tight-knit group that we had. I remember we had a team over our house. We lived in a lacrosse house then, and we were getting ready to go out, or we had all 60 guys over, and the night ended up we all ended up chanting like one more ring, and it was the whole team. And I remember one of the soccer guys opened up the door, looked into the house, and then just like closed the door and backed out. And I knew that we had like 60 just maniacs that were ready to run through a wall if they needed to, just to get a ring. And it was, I don't know, I guess that was it. Like, the buy-in, the tight-knit group that we had, and just, that was probably it. I've seen the game a handful of times, and TW still texts, a group of us Memorial Day weekends, like, hey, X amount of years this weekend we won a national championship, which is awesome. But I don't know if I can really. I remember we were coming out, and New York Tech was undefeated. They were something like 18-0, and they were supposed to get up in us, and I think we ended up jumping out to a 2-0 lead. There might have been 1 or 2 lead changes, and we just ran away with the game. I don't know if it was necessarily a kind of a quiet game, but I thought one guy who was underrated and had an underrated career was Nick Kovac. He was a defenseman who very rarely barely got beat, had a good stick, and I just never thought he got the recognition that he deserved. And I thought he was one of those guys who was kind of like a dark horse in that game. Had a real good game, not a whole bunch of recognition. And I also think obviously Matt Malloy had a real good game. Devin Spilker ended up being the game's MVP. But I thought Malloy came back. He took a bad shot at the end of the second quarter, and we were worried about him possibly coming back in the third. And he came back in, stood tall, and we ended up losing the ring.
That's a great question. I'm very humbled by by what my fellow teammates have to say about me. But I wasn't the only one that had a decent day that day. It's pretty obvious we came up with a W and we put more goals in than they did. So I mean, it was all about preparation, right? I mean, that was, you got to think back. So for most of us on that team, besides the freshmen, everyone's played in a national championship before. And, I got lucky. That was my third one that I played in. So when at that point, the pressure wasn't as high as say the 2000 game when we have no clue about what's going on or what's going to happen or how you're going to react. I think the pressure for me at that point in that game was a little bit lower just because of the preparation and experience that I was able to bring into the game. I mean, you got to think about our defense. Our defense was so solid. I mean, we had Clint Pitts and we had Kovalkov. We had an awesome set of defensive middies. Nick DeLonga, Damon Wooford, even Brad Bauer, clearing the ball and scoring goals. We had a great defensive focus, a defensive-minded team for that year. And Chris Campbell, and I got to give a lot of credit to Chris Campbell. So you guys all know Chris Campbell. He's the first full-time All-American that Limestone's had. He was a great coach, even better player. But without him, I worked with him day in and day out. And taking shots as a goalie. You and I were just talking about being a goalie, but day in and day out for practice. I'm facing shots from three-time All-American Devin Spilker and Player of the Year Nick Carlson, Dave Wooster with his cannon, and Randolph. Randolph's 6'2", and he had a 100-mile-per-hour shot. So the preparation was definitely key. Like I said, with Chris Campbell having me warm up every day and working with me one-on-one, really helped me see that ball today. Great question, and obviously you're probably going to get the same response if you ask the same question to different people, but every team was different. The 2000 team compared to the 2002 team. For me, the differences that I see is, going into 2000, I didn't know what to expect. I was lucky enough to be able to become the starting goalkeeper for Limestone College at the time. And nothing was given. There was a senior ahead of me. I think there was a junior, there was a sophomore, and then I think 3 goalies came in the same year as I did. For me, the expectations were super low. I remember talking to Coach Malone in 2000. He's the one that kind of spearheaded my recruiting at Limestone, and obviously Coach Fenn and Coach Sereno, the head coach. I think the expectations were low for me just because I didn't really have a clue that was even an opportunity. I knew that I was just going to go out there and really practice hard, give it my all, be a good teammate, and just let the chips lie where they fell. And luckily enough, I got the opportunity. That was a nervous situation being a freshman stepping into the national championship scene. Didn't know what to expect. We had a pretty large crowd there. We went up against a team that I think previously lost the national championship the year before, CW Post. And I believe they were ranked number 1 in the country. And I think at the time we ended that tournament, because this was back in 2000, when they just took one winner from the South and one winner from the North. So I think that day, overall, expectations were low. No one knew about Limestone College. Limestone Hill was a team from South Carolina, from Gaffney. We were able to go up to Maryland and show them, hey, we can play too. They might not have known, but that team was special, that 2000 team. And we had, trying to think off the top of my head, the years of going combine, the memories are starting to fade a bit, but I think we had 4 Division I transfers on that team. And then we also had a stud defenseman from Division III that transferred in, Josh Rutter. And that was very helpful to us defensive-wise to really take care. I mean, they had a guy, an attackman, I remember on CW Post, that was an outstanding attackman. I think he scored 4 goals on me that game, but he didn't score the 5th. So that's the most important part. You know, the 2002 championship, 2001, we lost to Delphi. We lost, kind of handily. I mean, the teammates and I, over the years, we look back at that team, and that's something for us is we learned a ton. We were still young. I was a sophomore then. Devin was a sophomore too. John Navarro and Jason Randolph, I believe they were redshirt freshmen that year. Those are both contributors at that time. And not to mention, Brian Bauer, Brad Bauer. But the team overall, I think experience, because we went in 2001 when no one expected us to win. We played hard, we fought through it. And then 2001, we went the whole year. I think we had 2 losses that year, but we played some legit teams that year. And 2000, losing that championship really taught us how to persevere and come back in 2002, and we knew what we needed to do. We were just talking. It's kind of funny, goalie, the position is somewhat unique. I mean, you're kind of there by yourself, right? I mean, you're expected to be the leader of the defense, right? Some characteristics of a great goalie is communication. You want to be talking to your defense. You got to really understand the game. So having a high level, an IQ level of the game of lacrosse is something that can help you get to the next level as a goalkeeper. When you think about it, we're sitting back there and we're just watching. We're watching the pass go through, we're watching the cutters, we're watching the guy drive to the crease. Anticipation is huge. Once you get those, what's the 5,000 hours or 10,000 hours, you start to get that mindset where you know what might happen. So the anticipation factor is huge when it comes to a goalkeeper. And practice. A lot of people shy away, practice, it's kind of whatever, but as a goalkeeper, you really want to hone your craft into making that save, practicing your footwork, your hand-eye coordination with your hands and your stick, showing up every single day. It was tough. I mean, it's tough in Gaffney, it can be 90-something degrees day in and day out. You're sweating, it's hot. You're practicing down by the Kutsu old field. You guys don't know about that, but we used to practice right next to the YMCA. So that field is a little bit different. I remember one year, I think it was in 2002, my crease, because it was so messed up, was 3 inches down below where the goal sat. So I was already at a huge disadvantage. I'm 5'11", with the goal 6 foot. So now I'm down here to 5, whatever. Now I'm basically 5'9". So they still got a couple inches on there. So, I mean, you really just got to practice. It's all about hard work, putting in the effort, and just not giving up and staying focused. I want to say congratulations to all my fellow teammates and brothers out there. I know we do communicate as the years go on, so the memories can fade, but that day was something special. It's great to be able to say that we're national champs. It's going to be fun to get together with you guys and say hi and celebrate as a team one more time. And not to take this for granted, because we never know the next time that we can celebrate like this. So I'm very humbled to be part of the Limestone lacrosse family. There's not a day that goes by that I don't think about it. It's so great to see my kids play lacrosse now and still be around the game in the official world. But playing days, those are the fun days. Those are the easy days now that you look back on. And it's something that you definitely take for granted. But I'm very appreciative of the opportunity that Coach Serino, Coach Ben, Coach Sessa, Coach T.W. Johnson, Coach Campbell, Coach Malone, and Coach Bender those years gave me the opportunity to participate on the team and be a part of something special. So I thank you guys, and forward to another 20 years after.